there's clear evidence here that interventional trials with increased amounts of animal foods have benefit. Are you saying that long-term, this benefit is going to take a sudden U-turn and these are going to be harmful for people? The short-term outcomes look great. And I continue to stand by my conviction that there are no short-term or moderate-term studies that are interventional with red meat that show negative outcomes. And the epidemiology, as I showed, is also not entirely as you were presenting it, or it appeared that you were presenting it, because you were saying all of these studies, the huge amount of evidence, we're ignoring everyone in Asia when you say that. And so all those Asian researchers would come to a very different conclusion with their observational research.
No, I don't agree with what you just said either. But let me just, I can't address everything you said.
Why would you, okay, so please explain why you disagree with what I just said.
Okay, there's a few reasons. Number one, you have to look at what the replacement calories are in any study. So we're talking about, there are certain plant foods that are known to be harmful and disease causing, like white rice and salt, for example. And we know that there are different types of strokes and different types. So in other words, when you're switching one food from another, it may be true that substituting meat and taking out white rice or even white potato or white bread, you might have some benefits because the glycemic effect of those plant foods may be even more pro-inflammatory or worse than meat. So you have to look at what replacement calories. If you're substituting meat for beans or meat for nuts, then you have a completely different outcome. You can show study that eggs are okay. They're not so bad on cardiovascular diabetes death if they're comparing them, removing carbohydrates like pasta and bread from the diet and substituting egg. But the minute they start to use eggs instead of beans or vegetables or some other whole plant food, you see that eggs do have a comparatively negative effect.
In epidemiology,
so, yes, I can show you those
observational
studies.
epidemiology, not in interventional studies.
Yes, and interventional studies as well. And I can show you. I
do not believe you. Please, you must show me those studies. Those do not exist, Joel.
I'll send you some of those studies and we can finish this conversation.
Yes, we will.
I can position some of those studies. But let me, and when you talk about total strokes, the reason why the studies that you showed were not, they're short-term studies, and we have to look at them.
Short-term, that was epidemiology. That was over multiple years.
Yeah, but okay, so we can look at each of those studies individually. The one on strokes, for example, you have to differentiate cerebral hemorrhage and hemorrhagic stroke from ischemic stroke, because we know ischemic stroke alone is increased with animal product consumption, animal fat consumption, but hemorrhagic stroke has no correlation.
That's not true. You're talking about epidemiology again, Joel.
Okay, so I'm talking about epidemiology. Let me finish my thought process, okay? In that the atherosclerotic process and the thickening of the blood vessel that occurs with diets higher in cholesterol and saturated fat offers some degree of protection against ischemic strokes, because when you're on a very high salt diet, a lot of the Asian countries are consuming 4 to 6 grams of sodium a day, which they have a much higher risk of hemorrhagic stroke in those countries than we do in this country. In this country, our number one cause of stroke is ischemic stroke. In the Asian countries, we have a much higher risk, of 10 times the risk of hemorrhagic stroke. So anything you do that decreases risk of hemorrhagic stroke in an Asian country is going to show a benefit on all stroke mortality, because most of those strokes you're impacting are hemorrhagic strokes. And I'm agreeing with you that as you reduce salt and as you increase the risk of cardiovascular death from ischemic or clot or cracking of a blood vessel, an irregular heartbeat, sudden cardiac death, or a clot formation in the heart, a clot in the brain, you're going to increase the risk. So there's not going to show a decreased risk in ischemic or embolic strokes from increased meat consumption. You're only going to show a decrease in hemorrhagic stroke.
In Asia.
What's that?
In Asia.
In Asia, because they have a high salt diet and they're in such an increased risk of cerebral vascular death. And the thickening of the blood vessels in the brain from increased risk of atherosclerosis from diets higher in animal products. And also the lower glycemic effect of the diet may have some stabilizing effects on the protection from the high salt diet they eat there, causing hemorrhagic strokes. So the stroke study, you have to look at more definitive studies looking at just one stroke or another. It's a very controversial, and in the medical literature right now, there's a lot of controversy and discussion going on studies that group together hemorrhagic stroke and ischemic stroke because they have completely different causative factors. And that's why the Asian study on that isn't really defining it much. But I am saying that if you took a diet that you reduced animal products and you reduced salt and white rice. In other words, I'm saying high glycemic carbohydrates and animal products do not contain fiber, do not contain antioxidants and phytochemicals, do not contain they're not high in anti-cancer substances. Over long term, they promote inflammation. And and if you're modulating reduction in animal products and reduction in high glycemic processed foods and substituting more whole plant foods like nuts and seeds and beans, then we see the most dramatic reduction in all-cause mortality, cancer deaths,
epidemiology,
and cardiovascular. When you're looking at death, and not just a number, you're always going to have some study looking at people long-term when you're looking at cause of death. Those are hard endpoints. You want to throw at every study the person's death. Okay, but when we look at death, we always we stop people from dying when they do the right thing. You can just disavow every study, all the thousands of studies done, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 studies. You could say they're all just a bunch of garbage. Only the studies I like, these 2 or 5 that I like are the right ones, and those are all the wrong ones. But that would be like denying climate change, because you couldn't find almost anybody in the world who would agree with your way of thinking, that you're going to disavow every study and just pick these few that you like, that try to justify what you're doing. It's just, it's a degree of it's just unquestionably distorted way of thinking to disavow every study and every scientist in the world. They're all confused. You've got it right. Don't look at any of these studies that are long-term. They're all a bunch of garbage, except for the 1 or 2 I picked. In Asia, when they eat a diet of 6,000 milligrams of salt, and they're eating a diet of mostly white rice, which is junk food anyway. So then that's the only thing you can argue. And I am saying that in Asian countries, like look at the China study, for example, the China Oxford Cornell study.
You mean the China study that was severely confounded by cherry picking and that has been summarily destroyed?
That's your argument, but
that's been done by Denise Minger very widely. Colin Campbell.
Her argument has been torn apart too.
Colin Campbell's arguments were
torn apart. Campbell's works, where thousands of legitimate scientists say that these people that attack them with pro-animal product agendas are just distorting the data as well. But even if you say, okay, well, let's assume that there's some mistakes in Dr. Campbell's massive studies, and not just his, obviously he has about a dozen other scientists from around the world, from Harvard and Oxford associated with that. But all these people are wrong. Then what about all the other studies that corroborate that and show the same thing? And you could pick one from Asia, because there are, like I said before, but you can't disavow all the evidence. And you can't, meat doesn't cause harm in the short term. Well, of course, you can smoke cigarettes for 6 weeks. It's not going to cause harm in the short term.
If you smoke cigarettes for 6 weeks, I'll finish. You're making a lot of statements that I disagree with.
That any way a person loses weight, fat on the body is so pro-inflammatory and dangerous. And fat cells spew out lipokines and cytokines and reactive oxygen species, and it makes you insulin resistant and activate aromatase. So any way a person loses weight is going to show some short-term benefits on data points. That's
exactly why vegan diets work in your studies, because they're losing weight and they're calorie restricted. And we'll talk about it, but go ahead. That's why your vegan diets work.
Any method a person loses weight.
I agree with you.
There was a study showing there's a study done recently on carbohydrate restriction, and showing that to see if these keto diets people are using to lose weight are safe long-term. So they followed people with keto diets long-term, and they showed that they had such a dramatic increase of premature mortality, both cardiovascular and cancer mortality, publishing a warning saying that people following keto-based diets to lose weight may see short-term improvements in cardiovascular markers because of loss of body fat and decreased insulin resistance, but long-term, these are dangerous. And if you can achieve weight loss and fat reduction in safer manners, that's why no legitimate medical authority or medical can support, or the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, or any nutritional organization could never support these radical type diets that you're recommending, because there's proven dangers long-term. You can't say every long-term study you can't agree with, because then you're just saying, well, there's no way you can disprove you, because every time you do a long-term study showing it's dangerous, that study is wrong. Only the short-term study is showing weight loss.
Not what I'm saying.
Okay. You are saying that. You're
No,
saying
that's
the
not what I'm saying
thousands
at
of
all.
studies
That's not what I'm
that
saying
show
at
the
all.
long-term dangers are all disavowed. I'm only going to accept this little short-term benefits from doing this. And because you can't, because all the long-term data is bad, and I'm going to just ignore the thousands of studies that show this is dangerous. And I can give you a few of those studies to look at right now that show differing amounts of animal protein in the diet, showing one study showed a fourfold.
Please, can you, at some point, I would like to respond to all of these things that you're saying. So you need to pause at some point. I need to respond to you.
I'll pause in 1 minute. Okay, here's a study that followed 6,000 people for 15 years. 6,000 people, they picked out 6,000 people, they followed them for 15 years, and they tracked how much animal products, how much animal protein they ate.
So this is, again, this is an observation epidemiology study.
They found these people who they followed these 16 between the ages of 50 and 65. They followed them for 15 years. And those people eating more than in the highest tertile of animal protein compared to the lowest tertile had fourfold increased risk of cancer death over that 15-year period compared to people eating lower amounts of animal products, which were eating about 10% of animal protein or 5% of calories from animal protein, compared to those in the high protein group eating about 20% of calories from animal protein or 30% of calories from animal product. So we're seeing as you go from 10 to 30% in animal product intake, cancer deaths went up fourfold, but you have people like you know, some of the paleo people, you know, what you're advocating, and keto people that are advocating a diet with much higher amounts of animal products.
Absolutely, because they're where we get our nutrients from. But I'll let you finish, and then I need to respond to all of your talking.
So the chances of you increasing cancer deaths, and we know that a high IGF-1 that result is increased with breast and prostate cancer. So we know all the data, we know all the findings suggest that what you're advocating is significantly dangerous. You're gambling the lives of your followers and saying, well, don't believe anybody except me. All those people's studies are wrong. And on my arguments, you know, and you're the one cherry picking here because you're not looking at the vast,
I'm looking at all the data. Yeah, I'm looking at all the data.
You're not looking at all the data. You're just ignoring it all.
No, I'm telling you why it's confounded.
It's just all garbage. It's just all trash because it's long term.